There is a number that quietly follows many of us around after a certain age. Two numbers, actually, one on top of the other. You see them at the pharmacy, at the doctor's office, on the little machine at the grocery store that nobody quite trusts, but everyone still. And if you've been watching that number creep upward year after year, you already know the particular kind of worry that comes with it. Let's begin. Number 7 is brisk walking. I know. It sounds almost too simple to be on a list like this. But walking deserves its place here, and it deserves to be taken seriously rather than dismissed as just walking. When you walk briskly, meaning at a pace where you can still talk but would find it a little harder to sing, your heart rate rises, your blood vessels open wider to deliver more oxygen to your working muscles, and over time, that repeated widening trains your blood vessels to relax more easily, even when you're not exercising. Research has consistently linked regular brisk walking with modest but meaningful reductions in resting blood pressure, particularly in adults who were previously not very active. The beauty of walking is that it asks almost nothing of you in terms of equipment, cost, or risk, and it can be done almost anywhere, at almost any pace that suits your body. If you're just getting started, even 10 to 15 minutes at a comfortable but purposeful pace, most days of the week, is a meaningful beginning. The goal isn't speed. The goal is consistency. Number 6 is stationary cycling. For those with knee discomfort, balance concerns, or joint pain that makes walking on uneven ground difficult, a stationary bike offers many of the same benefits as walking, with far less impact on the joints. Cycling is another form of aerobic exercise, and it works through a similar mechanism. It raises your heart rate gradually, encourages your blood vessels to widen and become more flexible over time, and gives your heart a gentle, sustained workout without any jarring movement. What makes cycling particularly appealing for many older adults is the control it offers. You can adjust resistance, sit in a supported position, and stop the moment you feel you've had enough, all without worrying about uneven pavement or the distance you'll need to walk back home. Even 15 to 20 minutes of easy, steady pedaling several times a week has been associated in research with improvements in both the top and bottom numbers of a blood pressure reading. Number 5 is bodyweight squats. This is where we start moving from pure aerobic activity into something called dynamic resistance training, which simply means exercises where your muscles work against resistance while your joints are moving. A basic squat, holding onto the back of a sturdy chair for balance if needed, standing up and sitting back down slowly, works some of the largest muscle groups in your body. And here's the connection to blood pressure that surprises many people. Larger, well-conditioned muscles are more efficient at extracting oxygen from the blood, which means your heart doesn't have to work as hard to circulate blood throughout your body during everyday activities. Research on dynamic resistance training, including simple movements like squats, has shown measurable reductions in resting blood pressure, alongside the added benefit of preserving muscle mass and bone density, both of which naturally decline with age. You don't need weights for this one. Your own body weight, moved slowly and with control, is enough to start. Begin with a small number of repetitions, perhaps 5 to 8, focusing on slow, controlled movement rather than speed or quantity. Number 4 is stair climbing, or step-ups if you don't have stairs at home. This exercise quietly combines two of the benefits we've already talked about. It raises your heart rate the way walking does, while also asking your leg muscles to work against resistance the way squats do. If you have a staircase at home, slowly climbing up and down for a few minutes, holding the railing for safety, is enough to elevate your heart rate meaningfully. If stairs aren't available or comfortable for you, stepping up onto a sturdy low step or a thick stable book 1 foot at a time and then stepping back down offers a very similar effect. Because this movement combines cardiovascular effort with muscular effort, some researchers consider combined style training like this to be particularly efficient for blood pressure improvement, offering benefits similar to doing 2 types of exercise in one shorter session. As always, safety comes first here. If your balance is uncertain, always have a rail, a wall, or a sturdy piece of furniture within reach. Number 3 is the plank. Now we're entering the category that produced some of the most surprising findings in recent research: isometric exercise. Isometric simply means your muscles are working, tensing, holding, without your joints actually moving. A plank, held in a modified form on your knees and forearms if a full plank feels too demanding, asks your core, shoulders, and back muscles to hold a steady position for a set period of time. Unlike a squat or a walk, nothing is moving. You're simply holding. What researchers have found is that this kind of sustained, static muscle tension seems to trigger a distinct physiological response, one that appears to be especially effective at training blood vessels to relax more fully between contractions. Even holding a modified plank for 20 to 30 seconds a few times, with rest in between, has shown a place in the research on isometric training and blood pressure. If a plank isn't accessible for you, even sitting in a sturdy chair and pressing your palms together firmly in front of your chest, holding that tension for 20 to 30 seconds, engages a similar isometric principle in the upper body. Number 2 is slow, deliberate breathing exercises. This one often catches people completely off guard because it doesn't look like exercise at all. There's no sweating, no raised heart rate, no muscle burn, and yet the evidence connecting slow, controlled breathing to lower blood pressure has grown substantially in recent years. Here's the mechanism. Your blood pressure is partly regulated by your autonomic nervous system, the part of your nervous system that runs largely without your conscious control. This system has two main modes, one that prepares your body for stress, sometimes called the fight or flight response, and one that promotes calm, rest, and recovery. Slow, deep breathing, particularly breathing that emphasizes a longer exhale than inhale, has been shown to activate that calming branch of the nervous system. When that calming branch becomes more active, your heart rate tends to settle, your blood vessels tend to relax, and blood pressure readings often drop, sometimes within minutes of a single session. A simple version of this exercise involves breathing in slowly through your nose for a count of 4, holding gently for a count of 2, and exhaling slowly through your mouth for a count of 6, repeated for 5 to 10 minutes. Some research has found that practicing this kind of slow breathing daily over several weeks is associated with meaningful reductions in resting blood pressure, particularly when practiced consistently rather than occasionally. It costs nothing, it requires no equipment, and it can be done sitting in a chair in complete stillness, which makes it one of the most accessible items on this entire list. Before I reveal the exercise that took the top spot, I want to remind you that if any of this feels new, that's completely normal. This is exactly the kind of updated information that hasn't made its way into everyday conversation yet, but the research behind it is solid, and it's worth understanding. And now, number 1. The most surprising, and according to recent large-scale research, the most effective exercise on this entire list, the wall sit. Also called a wall squat, this is another isometric exercise, and it may be the single most well-researched movement for lowering blood pressure that most people have never heard of. Here's how it works. You lean your back flat against a wall, walk your feet forward, and slowly lower yourself until your knees are bent at roughly a right angle, as though you were sitting in an invisible chair. Then you simply hold that position, using nothing but the wall and your own leg muscles for a set period of time before slowly standing back up. A large-scale analysis pooling data from 270 clinical trials and nearly 16,000 participants compared multiple categories of exercise, including traditional cardio, weightlifting, high-intensity interval training, combined programs, and isometric training. When researchers ranked every exercise type by effectiveness at lowering resting blood pressure, isometric exercise came out ahead of all the others. And within that category, the wall sit specifically produced some of the largest reductions recorded in the entire analysis. Reductions that, on average, approached what many blood pressure medications are designed to achieve. I want to be very clear about what this does and doesn't mean. It does not mean you should stop any medication you've been prescribed, and it certainly doesn't mean a wall sit replaces the guidance of your physician. What it does mean is that a simple, quiet, unglamorous exercise, one that costs nothing and takes only a few minutes, has emerged from careful research as an unusually powerful tool for supporting healthy blood pressure, and remarkably few people know about it. For most people just starting out, even holding a wall sit for 10 to 15 seconds, several times with rest in between, is a reasonable beginning. Over time, as your legs adapt, you can gradually work toward longer holds. Some of the research protocols involve sessions of around 2 minutes total, broken into shorter holds, performed a few times a week. Now that we've walked through all 7, I want to give you a simple way to bring some of this together. A short routine that touches on several of these benefits without taking up your whole day. The first step is choosing one aerobic activity you enjoy, whether that's walking, cycling, or climbing stairs, and aiming for it most days of the week, even if only for 10 or 15 minutes at a time. Consistency matters far more than intensity. The second step is adding 2 or 3 short isometric holds, such as a modified plank or a wall sit. On most days, these take only a few minutes but appear to offer some of the strongest benefits of anything we've discussed today. The third step is closing your day, or beginning it, with 5 minutes of slow, deliberate breathing. This costs nothing, requires no space, and can be done from a chair, a bed, or even while waiting for the kettle to boil. None of these steps require special clothing, a gym membership, or a significant amount of time. They simply ask for a small, steady commitment. Before I close, I want to share 3 mistakes that often get in the way of people benefiting from exercises like these. The first mistake is starting too aggressively. Holding a wall sit for a full minute on the very first try, or walking briskly for an hour when your body isn't used to activity, often leads to soreness, discouragement, or even injury. Research on these exercises shows benefits building gradually, over weeks, not overnight. Starting small and staying consistent outperforms starting big and giving up. The second mistake is holding your breath during isometric exercises like the wall sit or the plank. This is extremely common, and it can cause a temporary spike in blood pressure rather than the intended benefit. The goal is to breathe steadily and calmly throughout the hold, not to strain or hold your breath. The third mistake is treating exercise as a replacement for medical guidance rather than a companion to it. If you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure or any heart condition, it's important to speak with your doctor before beginning a new exercise routine, particularly one involving isometric holds, so that it can be tailored safely to your specific health picture. And one final important note: if you ever experience chest pain, shortness of breath that feels unusual, dizziness, a pounding or irregular heartbeat, or any sudden severe symptoms during exercise, stop immediately and seek medical attention. These exercises are meant to support long-term wellness, not to be pushed through discomfort or warning signs from your body. If this information has been genuinely useful to you, please give the video a thumbs up. It helps this message reach others who may be quietly searching for the same answers you were looking for today. And I'd love to know in the comments, which of these 7 surprised you the most? Was it the wall sit, the breathing exercise, or something else entirely? Taking care of your blood pressure isn't about perfection, and it isn't about dramatic changes overnight. It's about small, steady choices, repeated often enough that your body begins to respond. And sometimes the quietest exercises, the ones that don't even feel like exercise at all, turn out to be the ones working hardest for you behind the scenes.